I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the AFL Enjoyers team. We're a bunch of unique individuals, Matsa, Sfenda, and Dean. We're going to engage with our minds and our hearts. We're going to exchange ideas, thoughts, and even our energy. And to speak from your heart, you need to have courage. You need to be honest and authentic. We're not always going to get it right, and sometimes you're not going to agree with us. But that's okay, because just like you, we care. Just like you, we're passionate about the game. So if you want to come along for the ride, join us at the AFL Enjoyers podcast, because we really enjoy the footy. Hello and welcome back to the AFL Enjoyers podcast. My name is Dean, joined once again by the boys, fellow enjoyers of the AFL, James Matsa and George Sfenda. How's it going, boys?
Not bad, Dean. Yourself?
Yeah.
Doing okay. Mixed emotions this week. Still getting over yesterday, but looking at the positives.
That's good, man.
How about
That's
you guys?
Good. Oh, similarly feeling as we're both North Melbourne supporters. We had a similar experience. But yeah, no, it was less games of footy, but there were some entertaining ones though, so we'll take that.
I would say I enjoyed this week more than the other weeks. Maybe because there was less games, but more quality, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair call. It's very cool. That one.
George is a bit quiet.
Because we're going to get into the first game.
I don't know why the fixture of Carlton is the first, but every week I have to start the podcast with this bullshit, man.
I can't help but notice, George, that the clipboard is gone. I'm assuming broken in half while you're watching the game.
So my leg is positioned to cup this piece of paper with my notes on it because my clipboard is broken.
Yeah, fair.
It's snapped in half somewhere in my house.
On your knee, like.
Look, it was against the wall. I smacked it against my computer. I smacked it against my own head. I got a concussion. So, very disappointing.
It's the weekly sort of thing now, isn't it, where we just ask George to explain what's going on because we can't quite believe what we're seeing. So, George, take it away. What's going on?
Well, I'm wearing a Carlton beanie.
You are?
Shocking, to be honest with you.
The reason is because, never let them know your next move. No one expects me to wear a beanie today. Is it because my head's cold and I had nothing else to wear? Maybe. Is it because I was having a bad hair day? Maybe. Is it because I'm a faithful supporter of Carlton through thick and thin? Definitely not. No, I don't know, man. I don't even know where to start, to be honest, man. It's just very deflating. We joke about the clipboard, but, I was smacking the table big time. I'm not that, I'm a pretty emotional supporter, but when I watch the game, I'm relatively composed. But it was more just just frustration that they just can't do the basics right. And there was so many opportunities to win that game against Melbourne. Melbourne did not play well. They just didn't.
I did flag it last week and I said, these guys aren't impressing me this year.
But I was thinking that while we were watching, Deano was right.
Yeah.
About Carlton and Melbourne. But yeah, we had our chances to win that. We just could not execute basic skills.
Yeah.
And it's disappointing as well because you guys actually put some effort out there as well. The actual, the pressure was there. I don't think it didn't look like it was, all Melbourne's way. So
it wasn't. Our inside 50s were fine. Actually, no, that's not true. This week they smashed us inside 50s. But the thing that was most frustrating about this game is we would get a free kick and then handball it to the opposition. We'd take a contested mark and kick it to the opposition. We just could get no flow.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that the biggest issue with the Blues is confidence and fear of failure. And because there's no way they're missing those kicks at training.
But what happened the first couple of weeks when you guys were playing some actual decent footy?
Well,
the first few rounds of last year.
Well, I was actually going to lead into that. So good segue. Well, the thing is the first 10 weeks last year, Carlton was dominant, 8-2, close to the top of the ladder. Since then, we have pretty much lost every game. I'm pretty sure I don't know the exact statistics, but I saw something this week that showed that over the last period of time, maybe it was 20 games or something along those lines, Carlton has pretty much the same win record of North Melbourne and Hawthorn. It's just a bit better, just a little bit better. So we're really actually just a bottom 4 team if you take out those first 10 weeks. So we're reflecting on Carlton as a team that has a lot of potential, plays really big football, waiting for them to get back to that. But they haven't showed that for ages. And they really only had that initial burst of 10 weeks where they played a really strong quarter or so of footy and did all the work and then defended it. They did it against Sydney. They did it against Hawthorn. They did it against Port Adelaide in the early weeks last year. They just dominated 60 points in a quarter and then defended it. So what really I think almost they got a little bit lucky. Cripps was playing like he's never played before. He was unbelievable last year, Brownlow medalist. And Charlie Curnow is an extreme talent. We're pretty much just winning it off their boots and off just a ballistic burst of football. But at the same time, the opponents managed many ways in those games to find a way back, and we couldn't stop it. And now it's almost like we don't even have that burst of a quarter or so where we play good footy. We just don't get going at all. And then comes like the fact that we're just not scoring as well, because it's not just like if we score 50 points, we kick a massive quarter score, and then throughout the rest of the quarters, it's a slow thing. It still gets to an 80, 100 point margin. If you're just not doing that, it's just consistently bad, which is the 40, 50 points that we've averaged over the last 5 rounds.
That's the issue, isn't it? I read the stats last week of your total scores versus your inside 50s over the past couple rounds, and again, another 44 total points for the team. It's just quite staggering. And the confidence thing you mentioned, actually, there was something I'd written down, which was in that last quarter, Maxi Gawn goes back from 50 and absolutely slots a goal. Beautiful kick. And then a few minutes later, Harry Mackay gets a shot closer in, not really an angle. It goes for a snap from like 40 out. And that just sums it up for me. Like, this team just doesn't have the confidence.
Well, yeah, I don't think they have the confidence to bite it off. And Voss even admitted in the press conference that, yeah, we're too boring, too slow, too predictable. Sam Doherty echoed the same thoughts this week as well. So basically, it's so easy to play against this team, and they're not using any of their strengths. So if you're in opposition, you know you're going to Harry Mackay or Charlie Curnow. You know that you're using Adam Sard off the back line, and you know that Cripps is your bull in the midfield. Stop Adam Sard, stop Cripps, and put 4 defenders on Charlie Curnow. There you go. Carlton can't do anything. So I think they just got to have to, now that maybe if they keep losing, maybe the pressure will come almost off them because they're not a finals option anymore, and they might start playing proper football when it doesn't count. Or maybe it'll double down and be worse. But a couple of weeks ago, we talked about the fact that Carlton was coming into a 6-week period where it was going to define their season. And those teams, if the order is right, is like Adelaide, St Kilda, Dogs, Sydney, who we just first now?
Melbourne.
Melbourne, and now Essendon. Even the most pessimistic supporter would have said, split it in half, 3 wins, 3 losses. We've lost 5 in a row. We haven't even come close to beating 1. It is a massive capitulation. I actually can't believe it. To the point where I'm not even mad anymore, just like, wow, what is this team? How come this team just cannot find any success at all? And if you take away those first 10 weeks of last year, Matsa, like, this team sucks.
So it's been like what, 20, 25 rounds since you guys have actually played good footy? About that, 20 to 25 rounds?
Yeah. Well, second half of last year, we lost a lot of games.
Yeah.
And this year, we've beaten West Coast. We've beaten...
Beat us.
North.
Yeah.
Richmond, who have proven not to be...
Was it not a draw?
Draw
Yeah.
Richmond.
So you got points. But
Points. Proven not to be that good of a team this year. And Geelong when they sucked. That's it. That's it, man.
And even that North game, like, we were there. It wasn't a pretty game, and we had no defenders. There was no Mackay. There was no Logue.
Yeah. And you guys were beating us out of the middle.
We were. Yeah, man. Look, it's pretty frustrating. I think even people that hate Carlton kind of understand. Like, if Carlton's in the 8, it would have generated some excitement. Like, I certainly wouldn't have been upset to see Carlton in the 8, but you just don't deserve it at the moment. Like, really, there's so many teams putting up a fight, like Gold Coast, Freo, even Sydney's starting to claw their way back into the season. Like, you guys are just, like you said, if they pick up the form now that the pressure's off, then what happens when you win a few and then the pressure's back on, you're going to lose again? Like, it's not sustainable, man.
Yeah, well, that's right. And that could happen, know, because, like, say Carlton beats Essendon, like, they have to have a win eventually. It's going to come, right? It just has to. So let's say they beat Essendon. I think then there's some easier games, like maybe Gold Coast and Hawks coming up. They're not necessarily... I wouldn't put anything in the bank with the Blues at the moment. But let's say that they win a couple of games. Then they're still back into the hunt, right? I would say the season's over at the moment. No, they're not going to play finals. But let's just say they win a couple of games in a row. I guarantee you that next test they fail. I guarantee you. Because they've done it every time. They did it last year against Adelaide. They did it this year against these teams around them. It's crazy.
Disappointing, man. I guess from the Melbourne point of view, I don't know about you guys, but Christian Petrarca was on an absolute, like, not just one level above the rest of the players in that game. He was like 10 out of 10, and the rest of them were hovering at about a 7, to be honest.
Brownlow favourite.
To be honest, he is.
He's an amazing footballer, man.
It was pretty clear just how much better he was than everyone else.
Crazy.
That game. Yeah.
He was silky. I did just want to give out some little cheeky flowers as well, if I could. 3 guys from Melbourne caught my eye. I'm just going to say 3 names.
Can I guess?
You sure?
Jacob Van Rooyen?
No, but he did as well, but not flower worthy.
Okay.
Rising star, though, this week.
Yeah.
Credit to him. Oh, maybe. All right, you can do it.
We'll give him his flowers. I'm
Okay.
trying to think who else. Like Judd McVie?
No.
I'm trying to think who's something unique, you know?
One of them's not really an obvious one, and that's Bailey Fritsch, George's boy. Top 6 player in Melbourne. Or 5, what was it that you said? George?
He probably, you know what? He might be.
He's a pretty good
I might have to, take that.
I just
statement
really
back.
like those
He's pretty
players
good,
that
man.
you look at them, slightly built, he's not the best jumper, not the quickest, but he's just always in the right spot, like a Jack Gunston type. Like
He's just a super reliable footballer.
Yeah.
And really good shot at goal. So.
he is. But the other 2 are a bit more interesting. So this was the first full game I watched Rivers play. That guy's good, man.
Yeah.
He can play, so flowers for him. And good to see Salem back in the team.
Yeah.
He just looks really composed on the ball. Like guys run at him and he just does the slightest little ball fake and just buys another couple seconds of time. So thought we should touch on Melbourne as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They
Give
got
a couple
the
of
win.
those guys their flowers. They did get the job done. It wasn't pretty. I am still very suspicious of their actual flag hopes. I don't think they've had any really statement wins so far this year, but ultimately good teams still get the job done. And come finals, it would not surprise me if they did turn it on, but so far they're sort of just hovering along.
Yeah, hovering along in the top 4. So,
Yeah, exactly right. So,
you know,
I guess
if they're hovering along and just, they're just in the top 4, good on them, man. They're still premiership contenders in my eyes. But yeah.
they can hit the gear, but I'd like to see some of it from now. But fair enough. Now, boys, I need to admit I was busy all day at a very beautiful wedding. Congratulations to the couple, but I did not watch a single minute of football on Saturday. So you guys tell me what happened. Port just looked like they obliterated Hawthorn in that first half based on what I saw in the highlights.
Yeah, I was going to say they made it look somewhat respectable, Hawks, because they clawed back, but I think they were down by 100 points at one point. Like
I think it was in the 90s.
Yeah, like it was like historic scores at points of the game. Like it might have been 60 or 70 in a quarter. They were just Port are just there.
They just cut them. It was like a training drill. They absolutely cut them to pieces in the first quarter. It was actually, if you were a Port fan, that would have been the most enjoyable footy you've seen in a very long time. Maybe since they beat Richmond in that elimination final all those years ago. Just a procession.
Crazy.
Who wants a goal? Finlayson wants a goal. Give him a goal. Give him 4.
He was everything in the first quarter, man.
Well,
I think
what
he
I
had
s-
4 in the first quarter.
Yeah,
Made it
part
look
of my
easy.
trying to catch up on how the game sort of went. I like going through the timeline of when the goals happened, and I noticed this guy kicked 4 in the first quarter.
Finlayson.
It reminds me of that time Drew Petrie. What did he kick, like 6 or 7 in the first quarter?
I think it was 5 and a quarter.
5.
And he ended up on 6. You know what I mean?
Doesn't
Like,
matter.
He limited his bag right there, but
Jeez,
Yeah.
what a performance from him.
But yeah, it was like Port are clearly a damaging team this year. Who knows what they'll end up achieving? But yeah, they're pretty good. But Hawks, they find a way every game to play a good half of football. So they've done that a couple of times where they've been respectable for a half and then got blown out. Sometimes it's the first half, sometimes it's the second half. But good on them for fighting back. Maybe it's part of Port taking the foot off the pedal. We don't really know. But Hawks play an attacking brand of football. And as you can see, it was a really high scoring game. Something like 90 points to like 140 points. So
Well, good on them. Yeah, even in a massive loss, they've conceded 150 points. Maybe no Sicily probably doesn't help, but Port's just on a roll. And good on them for scoring 90. Like, if my team was getting pumped, at least you want to see them putting some effort the other way as well.
yeah, they you're right with Sicily. Like all their ball movement goes through him, right? So he kind of he starts all their chains, and they didn't have him to do that this round, but they still found a way to kind of resurrect the second half and win the second half. And positive signs for Hawks fans continue. Luke Brewster had another 5-goaler, surpassed his 500 goals this week. So good on him.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
That's it. And I said, another friend of the pod actually made a good tweet for once. It was Kane Corns. He actually gave Luke Bruce his flowers. I'm like, oh, Kane Corns saying something that I don't loathe. This is nice. You know what I mean? That was a welcome change from Kano.
He's playing the humble card, watching Port just smack Hawthorn around. He decided to be nice.
But he said something else in the week that I didn't mind either. I'll find it in a sec. But Yeah, no, Kano's he's turning the corner a little
Actually, while we're on that, George, you wanted to say something about our other good friend of the pod, Caroline Wilson.
Oh, I didn't mention that about Carlton. I'll go back. Let's rewind it.
Rewind just a little bit.
It actually makes the Carlton situation even worse.
bit. Yeah.
So, Caroline Wilson of Footy Classified, the worst show on TV.
Oh, by far, man.
Footy Classified is worse than the Kissing Booth 3 on Netflix. I haven't seen the Kissing Booth, but I just imagine it's worse.
Yeah, no, fair.
Someone that's watched it, let us know whether it's worse than Footy Classified. It probably can't be, but anyway, she reports a story, and Caroline Wilson doesn't report on like games. She reports on like stuff like CEOs and scandals and all the stuff that no one cares about.
Yep.
So she reported that Patrick Cripps stayed away and Sandoki stayed away from the team while they were in Sydney, and it was missing the fact that he stayed with the team, and when the team left, he stayed one extra night with his partner, which players do, right? And Patrick Cripps responded saying, I wish the media was accountable for the things they say, never question my commitment to the team, can't wait for Friday. And we were like, ooh, skip. You tell him, skip. You know what I mean? They're like, can't bring on Friday night. Yeah, I'm back on the Carlton train. And then just as I'm watching this game, I'm like, skip. No, I don't want to watch this.
Yeah, skip this game. On to the next one.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I also will admit that while we tipped Melbourne on the podcast last week, on my personal tips, I tipped Carlton.
You do that every week, though.
But I always
That's not news.
like, why am I doing that to myself? And one of the reasons was like they're fired up, and they weren't. They weren't fired up. So that
They were
didn't
fired
motivate
up
them.
until the game started and they had to play football.
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough.
Wait, we're footballers?
Yeah,
Fair
so a little bit of background to the lead up to that game, and
Like, look, if you're going to report some news, at least be factual. Like when I said McLuggage's coming back to Victoria. Like, have some facts behind it. Yeah?
yeah,
Don't just talk
Have
rubbish.
some
go up
sources.
to Gold Coast and
I
talk to
know.
McLuggy.
I was in Queensland. Were you
Yeah.
in Sydney, Cara? No.
Who was your sources again for that one? Was it
I
Woj?
can't tell you. It's secret.
Fabrizio Romano?
Yeah, here we go. All good. Oh, thanks for that, George. I think it needed to be said. Okay, so the Eagles hosted the Pies.
And this was where Kano had another good tweet.
Okay, here we go.
And his tweet was, and absolutely I agree, West Coast Eagles supporters, without question, the best supporters in the AFL. Absolutely, because every time I put on a game that's in Perth, the supporters are out there, regardless of how bad the team's doing. Every goal they're celebrating. It's, they're keeping, they're staying together. It's fantastic to watch.
That's a fantastic point because their team honestly couldn't be much worse than it is right now, considering the history of the club and how high they were a few years ago only.
Yeah,
how
exactly.
badly they've fallen.
Yeah. And just, you add salt to the wounds, all the injuries that they keep getting as well. It's like they can't even if they tried, they can't bring together, some consistent football because everyone's just dropping. So
That's a great point, Matsa. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. It's pretty clear that they make noise, and what was interesting about this game is, at face value it didn't look interesting, and you're kind of like, oh, just skip West Coast, forget it. Like, there's no point even watching this. And then when I checked the scores, it was actually quite close. So I tuned in, and West Coast had a big dig at this game. They didn't get there in the end, and they're never going to get there. Let's be honest. But for a good half of football, they were right in it, playing quite ballistic football. Like, they were playing on it every opportunity, and the crowd got really behind them, like really loud. And some of their players like Tim Kelly, Elliot Yeo back in the team for the second round now. Who was the other one? Dom Sheed really wound back the clock and played some really strong. Like, they led from the front, so they gave it their all. The crowd got behind them. It was pretty fun to watch someone take it to Collingwood when you didn't expect it. Collingwood then in the last quarter blew them apart, as you kind of expected them to do from the start.
Yeah,
but at least a little bit of a sign of some hope and some life from West Coast, and definitely backed up by the fans.
yeah, within 20 points in the third quarter. That's an amazing effort.
I think they got
Against
within like a
Collingwood.
kick.
Yeah, I'm looking. I can't. That would have been maybe in the first quarter. In the first couple minutes of the game, they were within a kick. But
I think it was like 40 to like 50 something.
Is this
maybe. It was within 20 points at least. In the
Is
first,
this
but I
not
can't tell by
a
the
little bit of a
thing.
trend though with Collingwood in that even against North, like they never really like kill the game from minute one. Like North, they did in the third quarter. They blew it out a little bit at the end there, but they sort of play with their food a little bit in a way, and just when they need to, they're like, okay, see you later. The only team they've really embarrassed was Port in round 2, was it? Other than that, every other game's been competitive, at least for parts of the game.
Yeah, it's fair call.
Maybe.
Yeah. There was a nice goal from Nick Dacos where he just ran into the open goal square straight off the interchange as well. Did you see that one?
He knows how to find the goal, that kid. Man.
Oh, yeah. And when you have him as your Supercoach captain, you just, it cheers you up even more. You know what I mean? That was, yeah. But
that goal he kicked on the run from the wing to the half-forward line was
I was going to say, even that.
With the little handball 1-2 just to pad the stats.
That's exactly right, man.
If that's not
extra
like
3 points.
Gary Ablett Jr.-esque, I don't know what is.
He's a second-year footballer. I think we kind of forget about it because we talk about him so much. Second year, man.
The boy right there.
There he is.
He's on the desk.
Kicking player.
Sorry, 3 goals of 30 touches. I just needed to mention the actual numbers there. That's crazy.
Yeah, so I think his brother did that last week, and he's like, okay, I got to match it. I'm pretty sure Josh had the 3 goals last week, so, yeah.
No, that's good. What did you think of De Goey's bump?
Overblown in the media.
100%.
Like, that happens.
See, Kane Corns, he had a big week, Kano.
Kane Corns Enjoyers this week.
He said that it's like the disgraceful act, Jordan De Goey, typical Jordan De Goey, like does this every year. Like, I'm like, how is this any worse than any of the other bumps I've seen this year? Why are people saying 4 weeks plus when Pickett, who launched himself as a missile on Bailey Smith,
we just laughed at it.
Yeah.
We just laughed at that one.
How is it worse?
Look, I'm not one to disagree with Kane Corns. You know me. Like, me and him, like, we're pretty aligned on most things.
I don't know if that's true at all.
But
biggest
I must
cap
say,
right there.
I think the issue with the bump, let's call it, is he didn't like launch himself like you said, but Elijah Hewitt, who was the player on the receiving end, was completely blindsided. And if he was a bit more prepared for the physicality there, I think it's a non-incident, to be honest. But he was completely not expecting it, and it caught him flush. Like, he was out on the way down. It's one of those bad, like, the result impacts the punishment. I don't think that bump for someone that's braced for it does anything really, but it's just a bad circumstance. I think, look...
I just think the narrative around, like, the De Goey, it's kind of mirrors the Toby Green stuff, where it's like they make it more about the player than the action. Let's not, like, that bump wasn't any worse than the other stuff we've seen this year.
Nah. Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
It wasn't worse than Buddy Franklin and Pickett. No way. Not that I know anything about MRO, because every time I think it's not a big deal, they get like 8 weeks.
I think, you know what? I think De Goey himself wouldn't mind if it's 4 weeks. He gets to go to Bali, gets to relax.
I was saying that I guarantee you he's going overseas. He was going to probably do it during the bye, but he's like, look, here's my chance. I got a couple of weeks here. I can extend the
It's
trip
like
for a
when you're
week or
working
so.
like in a regular job like us. Like, you see the public holiday, you're like, oh, I'll take Tuesday off as well. Or, Anzac Day's on a Tuesday, I'll take Monday off, That's
it.
him. He's
That makes
stretching
him a
it.
bit more relatable
So
by making that comparison.
Maybe he did do it on purpose then. Maybe I've read it wrong.
Yeah, you're right. It was malicious.
He's
Yeah,
chosen
it was
like the
malicious.
second game. Like, he's chosen a kid he knows can't take it. I don't know. It's a bit suspicious.
That's the thing. He's like, oh, I got to book that. That tattoo. It's going to take a bit longer than usual. It's going to be a big one because they got a lot of tattoo artists over there in Bali.
Exactly right.
So, yeah, there we go.
Fair enough, man.
Mythbusters over here as well. We do everything.
That's it, man. And what happened? So, dogs, cats. I'm pretty sure. Now, this is when we might need to do another rewind or flashback. I'm pretty sure I tipped the cats. And it was a fairly straightforward tip, pretty 50-50 game. And then we're moving on to the change of subject. And this guy starts chuckling like I've tipped West Coast to beat Collingwood or something. Explain yourself.
I don't
mate.
understand the laugh either. I said it on the pod. I'm like, why are we laughing? I'm like, all right.
I said the cats can't lose 4 in a row. Let's be honest. Like, come on.
Maybe I was just daydreaming and I was just happy. I don't know. Like, I don't remember.
This is good. He can't take responsibility right here, mate. He's
No, well, I don't
shirking
know.
it.
Think about how amazing of a performance this Cats victory is. Not to mention they just lost at home to GWS and Bulldogs are in form. Come on, man.
No, fair enough.
This is an amazing victory. I think I wrote some of the players that are missing: Danger, Guthrie, Holmes, Radagalea, Stanley, Menegola, Duncan.
Menegola, does he still play for him?
Yeah. Jeez. He hasn't played this year, so maybe I shouldn't have brought him in. But I just wanted to put some topping on it.
You just like the name.
Yeah, he's a good player, Menegola.
He was a good player like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I swear
was Guthrie.
he's true. But
So was Dangerfield. They're
Hey,
all old.
Dangerfield's first 8 weeks was unbelievable.
it was actually
man.
pretty good.
He's
Well, what I'm saying is, like, Geelong is an experienced team, so their players that are good are the old players. They don't have any young players. other than Holmes. But given the history of the last couple of weeks and their injuries, and the Dogs aren't missing anyone, and the Dogs are at home, you tip the Dogs, mate. Like this is a blight on West Coast, I think, and something that not West Coast, Western Bulldogs, those ones.
Close, yeah.
Some's west, the other one's even further in the west. But it's more. It also shows the fact that probably why Geelong are champions, because they find a way when the going gets tough to get going.
Wow, that's inspirational. Right
Jeez,
there.
George is on fire today.
How do I follow that with my comment?
You can't. Thank you for listening to the podcast.
That's it.
I was just going to mention, based again off not watching the game and only highlights and looking at the stats here, but we're 8-7 to 8-5 at halftime, so pretty close. And then the second half, the Dogs go 2-8, and then the Cats go 7-2. So I don't know. I'm a pretty simple man. It's pretty simple maths. I think the Cats just were more accurate, kicked a few more goals, and they won by a few goals.
Mate,
Hey, man.
quick maths.
You come to this pod for hard-hitting analysis and great journalism. So unless you have anything to add, Matsa, I don't know.
No, I'm happy with that, man. I think we just end it there. Keep it simple, man.
Let's keep it rolling. Beautiful. So what have I got here? I wrote down Suns v Eagles, which shows how much I was paying attention to the fixtures. Suns v Crows.
They're both birds, so...
We tipped the Sunnies.
Yeah,
what a
we
win
did,
that was.
man. We had a little discussion in one of our chats where I had convinced someone to change their tip to the Suns after saying that the humidity, and then they went down by 5 goals, and I'm like, oh man, look at.
Then it got hot,
then the humidity started coming in. We were in Darwin, and Noah Anderson lifted his game after having a couple, average performances. Bailey Humphrey continues to, explode in the midfield. He's a gun.
What a jet, man.
Yeah.
How can a sixth gamer be having that much impact on the game? Well, I can, because North Melbourne have and Ashcroft. We were talking about it before, just how amazing it is that some of these players can come in their first year as play in the midfield and have that much of an influence on games. Sheasel, Wardlaw, Humphrey, who else is it? Jimby, Ashcroft. I think even Hollands for Carlton has been pretty impressive. Like these first year players, man, come into the system straight away. It used to take players years to develop. Now it's like there's something in the chicken or something like that. They're just like in straight away.
That's it, man. I think they don't fry their chicken anymore. They boil it.
Yeah,
they make sure it's clean. Only lean protein.
It's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the professionalism starts at a younger age now. Like people aren't just rocking up, based on talent. They hit 18 and then it's like, oh, my first, really hard preseason. I reckon these dudes are playing and training at an AFL level way before they get into the league.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
Well, definitely Ashcroft was. He wasn't. I don't think he was starting even.
Oh, there you go, man. And he doesn't. It's not like it's because he can't. He doesn't seem like a dumb kid. It's just because, mate.
Well, same with Horn Francis. He was working, not studying. Sheasels had a full setup apparently at home with his infrared.
Yeah, look at that infrared bath.
And, he's ready to go, mate. So
these young players, they know what their life's going to be, and they know if they set lay the foundations early that they're going to become. They're going to make a lot of money playing footy.
It definitely makes footy more exciting when you pick up it's almost like return on your investment straight away. You know
for
what
North,
I mean?
that's what the Horn Francis trade was. You know what I mean? Return on investment.
But even for Port, it's a return on investment straight away as well. Because they've got a good player.
Exactly. It's win-win. That is the biggest win-win trade this year. And I think at some point we're going to have to go back and revisit the trades and see what we think, winners and losers of the trade period after, we've actually seen we've got, a bit of a sample size.
But speaking about like return on investment, like I think Gold Coast is starting to get that. And like Lukosius has finally found a position. Like it's almost a bit of a curse because he's such a talented player. When he can play so many different positions, it can kind of almost affect your ability to develop as a player. Like, I'm pretty sure Lukosius could play any position. He's been played wing. He's been played half back. Now he's a forward. He could play full forward, half forward. He could probably play the ruck. He literally can do anything, right? But now as a forward, he looks really damaging. I think statistically he's one of the better kicks inside 50. He's kicked 10 goals in 2 weeks as a forward. There you go. He's kind of found his spot next to Ben King, a very talented forward. And then Raul has every game he plays, he improves. And he's dominating games now. Not just like the clearance contested player, but he's breaking away from stoppages. He's winning some more uncontested ball. Anderson has exploded this year as well. I think probably the better player out of Rao and him as well, even though he's second pick, but he's taken the charge. And then they've got some other players that are really lifted, like randos that you've never heard of, like Joel Jeffrey.
And Ballard. Who's that?
Yeah, Ballard. We'll talk about Ballard later, actually.
Oh,
But
okay.
just like Joel Jeffrey off the half back, Malcolm Roses as a small forward, it's pretty good. Alex Davies, serviceable. So they're starting to put together like a consistent brand of football that's tough. Their high-end talent is developing before our eyes. And some of the other players that you just don't really notice are playing good football. So it's really good to see because I think I like the Suns. I think we have them as our second team, almost as a meme, but they're starting to actually perform after the first couple of rounds of this year where we were so disappointed in them. So,
And another impressive thing about the Suns is that they're doing this without their best player. Took
that's
Miller.
right. Put Miller and Weller as well.
Exactly. More dash off halfback.
Yeah.
Tell you what, just on that high-end talent as well, in my excellent analysis from not watching the game, by watching highlights and looking at the stats in the timeline, there was a 9-goal stretch in a row where the game flipped on its head. And the goal scorers in that 9-minute stretch, the 9-goal stretch, were Lukosius 3, King 2, Raul Anderson, Humphrey. How exciting! How exciting is that?
It's crazy.
Nah, if you're a Sun supporter, that you're frothing that.
I actually think you can get behind the Suns. And, I think they're just percentage out of the 8 now. And they nearly beat Melbourne up there as well. So if you've got Suns at home in these humid conditions, right, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them make the jump this year. I don't think they will.
Look,
But,
this is the best chance they've had. So let's see what they can do.
And the other thing about them is they've kind of built into their season. In the past, they have like a flurry of wins early in the season. They look good, and then for the next 15 games, they lose and they're useless. Now they've kind of started poorly. They're building in. They look more consistent. It's kind of like their first real march at it. So it's good.
Something just occurred to me, right? You're listing through all these players, right? Are they the most likable team with the players that they have?
I think it's easy to like
what I mean?
a team that's been bad their whole time, though, because there's no rivalry there.
True, but just the players. I don't know. You say Matt Rao, Noah Anderson.
Everyone loves Real.
Yeah, Rao, the notebook will always make him. I've mentioned that 3 of the last 4 weeks. Like he's just a likable dude. Same with Bailey Humphrey as well. Something about his name as well, Humphrey. You know what I mean? Humphrey is Humphrey the dog.
Humphrey the Bear.
Humphrey the Bear. There you
Humphrey
go.
Bear, mate.
You know
For all
what
the
I mean?
90s kids.
Yeah, I reckon they're one of the more likable teams, just personality wise. I don't really know them personally, but they seem nice guys.
Oh, they got Levi Casbolt.
Levi, hey, another likable fella, man. Oh, Levi,
That's it, man.
goes in there, charges, hits packs.
What about
Can I just... Yeah, I was going to comment on the Crows real quick.
Rankin got shit on, huh?
Here's the thing with the Crows. They're phenomenal at home. Away is just like, you don't know what you're getting. It's crazy.
Odd.
Yeah.
Super odd, man. Like, you can't be doing that come finals because you got to win the grand final at the MCG. You know what I mean? Like,
It probably makes sense for a building team, though, to be good at home and have your struggles away. It kind of makes sense. So we'll see if they can win enough games on the road to make the 8. Because I think they will win enough in Adelaide.
That is the narrative, though, that are surrounding Adelaide. We've said that last couple of weeks as well. But yeah, if you can't win any games, if you can't pinch any games outside of your home, then it makes it very, very hard to finish high up in the ladder.
Yeah. Can I just do my weekly umpire complaint?
Please.
Part 1. I've got a bit more later, but part 1, all right. Last quarter of this game. This is what I did watch, okay? Chase Jones manning the mark from outside 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew you were going to talk about this one.
Umpire tells him stand, and he's sort of running to the mark. Like, he's not even there yet. Like, usually they give them a second or two to man the mark. And the umpire decides to say stand before he's finished his run up to the mark. And I swear, man, I've watched this replay like 5 times. Chase Jones is probably like 40 centimetres ahead of where he said stand. And he's called an instant 50, not a back a metre. You know how they do that? Like, back 2 metres, back a metre. He gave him nothing. Instant, not one warning, 50-metre penalty, goal. When the game's within 2 goals, I think it was at the time. Now, look, the Suns were full value for their win, but man, this stuff just pisses me off so badly. Like, stop giving away goals. And then I noticed the rest of the games that round, guess what they were doing, even on the wing, in defence, 3 metres, go back 2 metres, go back 1 metre. So many warnings. But the one that's to a goal in the last quarter, savage. I can't stand it.
What
mate.
goes through an umpire's mind when he pays that decision?
Nothing, mate. They're stupid, honestly.
You know, I reckon, you know how we were talking about earlier, I don't know if it was on the pod or off the pod, that these dudes run, like the AFL players run like 18 kilometers or something, 15, whatever kilometers, and they can still hit a kick, lace out, right? And sometimes they can't. Sometimes they can't kick anymore. Do you reckon the umpires get that sort of, do you reckon they get that sort of fatigue from that
fog.
running? What's that?
Brain fog from running.
Exactly, man. Maybe they've got to up their fitness or something and get them brain, a bit sharper. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing as well, yeah. I don't believe this should happen. I don't want this to happen, but we actually do have a better view on TV than they do most of the time. And I know they're on ground level, but how many times are they looking at the other umpire for advice that's 50 meters away because they can't see? It's such a congested game. There's simple decisions they can't get wrong, but like, I'm not suggesting someone tells them what to say because they're on the field and it's a complete mess, but the guys can't see. They're running a lot. Like,
They already have an earpiece, so that's part of the...
who knows what they're saying to each other, though? I don't know where that's coming from.
We're actually hearing a lot more of the umpires recently. They get their instructions. You can hear them during the play now. I don't like it.
Oh, I said it last week. They yell too much at the players. The dumbest stuff. Like,
It's the snarky comments.
stand,
It's a bit
like
too
they
much.
just yell at them, and like the players just are so scared to move off the mark. Like they're like, if they take a toe off the line, it's
Which
like
is
a 50.
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah,
I can't stand it.
it makes
mate.
no difference if they shuffle or they don't shuffle.
Correct.
It's-
I think, let's be fair, as a player when if you're gonna move to the side or anything, so you can block the runoff. You know where the line is. You know that you're going sideways, and you might cut a little bit. But
Well, even just the little things,
Who
like a
cares?
player will mark the ball and then like not even take a step and just like maybe suggest that he's going to kick the ball and it's play on. And then other times they'll take the step and it's not play on. Like the players don't know what's going on, man.
yeah,
Anyway, sorry. I know everyone loves that segment, so I thought I'd just throw it in.
yeah. See, I just want to say something that you said earlier in that little rant was like that they can't really see because it's such a congested game. It's almost like when there's a fight and like you don't know what's happening because there's a fight and it's like manic.
Yeah.
And you can't tell who swung first, who hit the punch. You know what I mean? It's kind of like that.
Well, that's why I say, like, I do feel for them. It's hard, but like,
Yeah.
don't pay the dumb ones that are obvious, like this man on the mark one.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't need to do that. Anyway,
They should have a rule that if it's not 100% clear, don't pay it.
let it go, man.
There should only be 5 free kicks a game, man.
I'd love that.
Not this 20-30 stuff.
Yep, I would love that. Okay, rant over for now. We'll get to a bit more later. But the Giants and the Tigers. Now, Sunday had a few cracking games, let's admit. Like, this game here.
The whole round, man. The whole round was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. But these two games in particular were within a goal. Like, really exciting stuff right at the end there. Pickett with a clutch goal to win it. The Tigers really snatched one.
They finally won a close game, the Tigers.
They did, yeah. Cracking game, man. GWS, I feel for them.
Why is it that I actually feel sorry for? They're the only team I actually feel sorry for. There's
I
something.
feel that too. I
Yeah,
don't know
do you
why,
feel
though.
sorry for them?
A little bit, yeah.
I think it's because they have to play that ridiculously bad ground, like that graveyard ground. That is their home ground. They have to go there and train every week. Maybe I just kind of want them to be happy.
Yeah. And I think also the fact that you mentioned this a lot is that they have like a midfield that would be one of the best midfields in the comp that's left the club. Like Taranto, Hopper,
True.
Treloar. You mention it pretty often, but it sort of clicked to me right there. You have those three out of centre bounce. You're winning a lot of centre bounces. You know what I mean? And there's more that I can't. Taylor Adams left. Jack Steele.
You could
How
make
many-
a team.
yeah.
You can make a team out of it.
That team's an all-Australian, midfield right there. Speaking of all-Australian midfields. We'll get to that later.
It's probably a mistake they made when Gold Coast and GWS joined the league was not adjust the way they are contracted. So all these players coming out of contract at the same time, all wanting similar pay rise, and no other team is built that way. So they were forced to sell, and it's made their future a little bit like iffy. But I think we can all agree they've got some good talent on the list now, like Callahan, Cadman.
Yeah.
So why are they bad then?
I don't think they're bad. I just think they're not good enough to win most games. Like
They
they're pretty
have
good.
been involved in a lot of close games this
Yeah,
year.
I think they're all right. I think they'll be fine, to be honest.
I think, the constant list changes don't help either.
Correct.
I think you lose key cogs, like not cogs, but
They're losing cogs.
Yeah, they're missing cogs, man. That's not. I'm not starting any trade rumors or anything. But Taranto, Jeremy Cameron, big guys leave. Big guys leave, and then you got to start shuffling things around. This person needs to fill that role. That person needs to fill that role. The whole forward line needs to get restructured when Cameron leaves. They lost even Finlayson. Imagine him in their forward line right now. He'd be fantastic. As that mismatch forward / ruck.
Yeah, I kind of forgot Jeremy Cameron played for them.
Jeremy Cameron. You forgot Cameron played for GWS.
Yeah, kind of. I just associate him with Geelong now, but you're
That's
right.
weird, man. That's a weird.
He's a premiership player for Geelong.
Yeah, fair enough. But like him and Toby Green, it was very arguable who was the best player. Like who was the GOAT for them.
Yeah.
And it's obviously Toby Green now because he stuck it out. But when Cameron was there, it's probably him. Yeah.
Hoskin Elliott.
Yeah, he's all right.
Yeah.
He's all right as well.
Aidan Bonner.
Aidan Bonner.
Aidan Core.
Zach Williams.
Was it Aidan O'Hearn or Paul O'Hearn? Who's the dude that used to-
Maybe, yeah.
Remember O'Hearn, that guy that we had who sucked? Who
Bobby-
everyone said was a good kick, but he couldn't kick.
Lockie Plowman.
Lockie
Hey.
Plowman. Caleb Marchbank, bro.
Caleb Marshbank.
Hey, Bobby Hill.
Christian Jacks.
Jesus.
Yaks.
Jed Lamb.
Jed Lamb. Far
Wow.
out, man. Look at this. These
Far
are
out. Shane Mumford,
Liam
mate.
Sumner.
These are some names here, man. These are some names.
Oh.
No wonder they're struggling. Poor guys.
I know, man. They lost some, though, man.
Do we give Richmond a chance for finals, or
I was just looking at the ladder. I was going to bring that
Nah.
up. They're 6 points out.
they're the same as
Oh.
Carlton, aren't they?
That's not it.
Yeah. They're actually on top of you now.
See, I
Wow.
give Carlton no chance, but I give Richmond a chance. But they've done it before.
How far off is Cheeky Lynchy? The guy who I don't like.
I think he's like around 19.
No, that's not really going to affect them much, is it? Yeah. I don't know. I just don't see him with a chance because
I don't think
it's
so.
a bit too little, too late, in my eyes.
What about the fact that I reckon it's probably Cochin's last year, Rewards last year, last roll of the dice? Did they have the desperation to make it happen?
They should have the desperation to make it happen. Maybe it's just the new coach will galvanize the lads. But like, we look at the last couple of weeks, man. They win one against the Giants, who we don't really think are a great team. Shit, they got close to Port though. Oh, maybe.
Was that not a scrappy game, or was it in the wet?
They've played good football this year, but they haven't put it all together. Like, I've had some really nice quarters. They have their time where they look like the Richmond of old, but they haven't put it together.
They drew to a quality team in Carlton.
Yeah. they put it all on the park there round one.
Oh yeah.
I think we've got him, actually. Carlton and Richmond play again this year.
Oh yeah. That's going to be interesting from draw to see.
Yeah, that will be a weird game.
Contrast. Who's improved. This, that, yeah.
I think there's just a few too many teams above Richmond that you'd think are a better chance to make the eight. Yeah, I'd be stunned if they did it from here, to be honest. Okay, we come to the last game of the round, and man, all I can think of, Matsa, was when is North going to not win? Like, obviously win a game, but like, when are we going to win a game where it's not within a kick? Like, it's been...
Our games are heartstoppers.
I was actually thinking about it. Like, we get our 2 or 3 wins a year in the last couple of years, which is obviously poor. And the last time we won by over 10 points, let's say, I think was Eagles.
What about
2 or
Carlton? Carlton against Teague. Remember that one? Taron Thomas kicked 4
Oh, that was
goals.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
We're talking a long time ago. We don't have comfortable wins.
Like, it's fun.
Anymore.
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy a close game, but like, I just really want us, when we're up, like we were up by 3 goals at one point. I would love for us to just push it to 6 goals and make it too difficult for the other team to catch up. But it was a great game. I actually had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah, it was. It was from a neutral perspective. It was great. Kind of high quality, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely high quality, man.
Yeah.
Both teams. The way Essendon progressed the ball forward, I think they're first in the comp from their 50 to goal.
Yeah.
And you could see it because they just keep moving the ball forward. And I'm just like, North, please stop it. And we just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They kept finding the next, link in the chain.
But then in parts of the game we did, and then we were able to force them to bomb it long, and we'd counter-attack ourselves. And man, some of our chains were great as well. Like Taron Thomas being back was huge.
He was a lot of the time the guy when we had like a kick out of the 50 or, just the last player in the chain. He was often that player. And it should be him because he's a silky player.
Absolutely, man.
Like
I want to just shout out as well. Someone I put the rocket up a few weeks ago, rightfully so.
Yeah, absolutely. Was rightfully so.
Bailey Scott. I said, mate, this guy hasn't played a good game since his debut game.
Did he get a haircut?
No.
I think he got a haircut. And then since he's got a
No,
haircut.
he's had a buzz for a while.
Yeah. There might have been one time where
There's something different about him, man.
What's different is that
He's
he's actually playing good football now, George.
Yeah.
He's getting 25 plus touches a game, couple goals.
he's one of those players. He's just got a huge engine, so he's just always running. He's always, providing an overlap.
Yep.
Like, multiple efforts. So, yeah, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. And on that big
side.
rant I had 4 weeks ago, I said, Curtis Taylor, why is this guy getting a game? He gets 10 touches a game and barely has an impact. He was dropped. Who's come in? Eddie Ford.
Your boy.
Playing a role. Doing such a good job. CCJ. Mate, this guy here, I reckon single-handedly, amongst other things, playing a smaller impact. I reckon he's having the biggest impact in our ability to stay competitive because we're just kicking the ball long because we're not that great at ball movement most of the time. And he's just clunking like 5 or 6 marks a game that we otherwise wouldn't have had. It's allowing us to actually get the ball forward and score a couple goals.
Because as good as Larky is, he's not a contested mark target. No. But CCJ has been that the last few weeks.
Absolutely.
And you need that. Every team needs a bailout kick.
100%, man. Even a few other guys, like Phoenix Spicer had 9 tackles. This kid, I would love it if he was more of a goal threat. Maybe that'll come with confidence. But at the very least, love to see it, mate. Zipping around, laying tackles. Good stuff, mate.
System player.
Yeah.
At the very least at the moment, he's fitting the system. So just
Kane Turner, who he's competing for the spot with, he ain't laying 9 tackles.
Yeah, he's not kicking goals.
Exactly.
Either,
so hopefully Phoenix can put the rest together, but good on him. And one special boy I need to give extra big flowers to.
Special boy.
Special boy. He's right there if you can see on the screen. Will Phillips, okay? Now, I was just about sick and tired of the haters on this one. We pick him pick 3. He's a quality young player. Showed some good signs in his debut year. And then last year gets glandular fever, gets COVID, and then gets glandular fever and wasn't exercising most of the year. Was out the year. Very harsh, considering not his fault, either of those things. And everyone's saying, oh, look at North, no key forward. They should have got Logan McDonald. Hey, good player, by the way. Nothing against Logan. But don't hate on this kid, mate. He's stepped up. This game, we had Simpkin out, Greenwood out before the half was over with concussion. We've got LDU out. Cunnington's not the same player anymore. And this kid's come in. Obviously, Wardlaw we'll get to. Sheasel we'll get to. But this kid here, Will Phillips, has dominated the last 3 games. There was periods of this game where he was out playing Merritt and Shield and the like. So massive flowers for Will Phillips. I think our young core of the midfield, Matsa, you can take it away from here. How excited were we about that?
Oh, mate, it was beautiful. You know, Phillips to Sheasel to Wardlaw, man. Yeah, I want to say another thing about Phillips though. He was the first midfielder picked in that draft, and there was a reason for that because he was the highest touted young midfielder in that draft. So like, you know, it shows the best midfielder in every draft is usually pretty good. Yeah. So yeah.
And North, last week, actually, Craig McRae said that North's stoppage work was some of the best they've come against this season. We did well again in the middle of the ground against Essendon, who were pretty good on ball. We dominated Sydney's midfield a few weeks ago. Like this team, we're not far away from a win. We'll get to our tips later. A bit of a spoiler alert. Don't know if you guys have seen who we're playing, but I think we're a bit of a chance.
Yeah.
But these guys, mate, we're actually improving, and it's so good to see. Like, we deserve it.
Yeah, and we got to give some flowers as well to the manic man himself, Georgie Wardlaw.
Oh,
man, he's just like,
man,
he's so fun to watch, man. I think he has, you know, at least top 10 players in the league potential.
He's not afraid to take on the tackler and like get his arms free, you know,
and dance around players. And sometimes he'll get caught, but the best players get caught as well.
But there was so many times in the game, like, yeah, he would get caught, and then the next play, he's playing the riskiest 40-meter dart kick, and he'll hit someone right in the chest, and you're just like, man, this kid's got no fear. He'll make a mistake, and then he's like, goldfish memory, doesn't care.
That's like, it's typical just playing in the moment type player.
100%.
Where it's like, I don't know, it's similar to like, weird comparison, but Steph Curry in the NBA, he can miss 5 threes in a row, but then he just still shoots it like, you know, from deep as he should. You know what I mean? He doesn't stop. The memory just, you know, wipes the memory clean.
All I can say about this guy, man, I don't have kids. I don't even have a pet, but like the love I have for this man is like, it's significant. So long may it continue. Our young midfield is just only getting started. When you factor in LDU,
Simpkin and Greenwood both went out in early stages of the game as well. So it was just the young guys who just stepped up.
How much do you think Goldstein's tapping is you know, he's in
huge impact.
He's in some serious form
huge
still.
Impact.
I don't know how.
Yeah. Oh, he is one of the best ruckmen of all time. You think of it, he's the most hit outs of all time, and he keeps breaking his record every week. He keeps adding to the hit out count, and it's longevity as well.
Well, he was coming up against Draper and Phillips pretty much on his own because CCJ he's tall, but he ain't no ruckman, to be honest.
No, he's not. I think he came to North wanting to be a ruck, but it's just not.
Not right now, anyway.
No.
So Goldie's, mate, he's carrying. look, to be fair, yeah, this young midfield is going places, man. Like, again, the names LDU, Simpkin as the experienced guys, still pretty young. You got Powell in there, Phillips, Thomas, Wardlaw, Sheasel. Like, come on.
Yeah,
We're going places.
The North rant has been enjoyable, but we've got something else that we want to get to.
Yes. Cut me off there. I was just getting started. Man.
Yeah, no, legit. Sorry, legit. North Melbourne Enjoyers podcast is probably going to happen.
Can I just say one thing? Just this isn't North related.
Yeah,
this is Essendon related because Essendon was playing in the game as well.
Actually, I gotta say one. Actually, no.
Yeah, who were they?
One Kane Corns thing that I gotta say as well. The other, I didn't even see this until I was just looking at his Twitter right now. Wardlaw is a genuine weapon. His 17 disposals felt like 40. Another little Kano.
Kane's, mate, we've got to have him on one of these days.
I know, man. I know. Shout out to Kane, man. You know,
just on the Bombers.
Redemption from Kane.
Redemption. He's winning me over, mate.
Yeah.
You know what? As soon as I forgave him, he started being a bit nicer. I'm just saying. So
Kill him with kindness, mate.
Kill him with kindness.
That's it, man.
Now, look, on the Bombers, I don't know how to read this because every time a team sort of, let's say, struggles against North, I get a bit like, okay, was North actually pretty good or were you guys not so good or I don't know. So from my point of view, I think these guys try to play it the right way. Like number one, like straight out. These guys try to win the ball at the source. They spread. They take their time, kick the ball around. I think they can actually play finals, but...
Shout out to Brad Scott.
Nah. A little bit. I don't know. Do you actually think they can play finals? There's some serious teams under them.
Yes.
You think they can?
I don't.
Mate, they're going to get Peter Wright back next week.
Nah, I can't.
You add that element to their forward line as well, man.
If I was putting money on it, I'd say they just miss out.
Yeah, I think it makes more sense. I don't know. There's a lot of competition, man. I mean, Freo's playing better football as well. They're coming off the bye. Geelong just made it in. Crows, Gold Coast. Teams like I don't think Richmond will go away. They're going to be around it. Carlton, I don't think they'll do it. But there's just so much under them, and there's still a lot of football to be played.
Heaps.
So we don't know. But I don't know. They have to get Darcy Parish back. That's going to help.
Parish and Wright, like Matsa said. So we'll see how they go.
Wright was their best and fairest, man. He's a gun.
I did want to mention as well, actually, we were saying about North's young players. Man, how disappointing was it to see Zeeble kick the ball on the full?
3 times.
3 times, including one that led to a direct goal, which was influential in the game. That's just really frustrating. And my last little thing on the game, I'm not saying we deserve to win. Like, it was a great game. Either team could have won. But, man, that last goal that Essendon scored, clear throw under the legs. That guy just tunnel balled it. Ridiculous miss from the ups. But anyway.
Umpire part 2 rant.
Mini one. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can forgive. But yes, Matsa, so we've got a bit of something planned this week. George brought it up. I think it's maybe fitting George briefly explains his idea. It's not too crazy. It's a pretty standard thing that...
Yeah. So just like we've come into the bye rounds now, so we've kind of got a bit of football under our belt. So we thought we'd try to do a mid-season All-Australian team and we'd all kind of compare our notes. Yeah. So...
Something I want to ask before we get into it.
Sure.
How did you guys determine your All-Australian? Like, what did you emphasize when you were doing it?
I think for the forwards, I was looking at the goal-kicking list, but not just... Like a Nick Larkey who's up there in the top 6 or 7. I haven't included him, for example. So
fair enough.
A bit of logic, a bit of stats, a bit of Supercoach, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
But trying then to say, okay, well, this guy is not scoring like 100 average Supercoach. He's like an 80, but you know what? I think he's...
But impact is
because
key defenders don't get points.
Stuff like that, yeah. So
and key forwards as well.
I did try to keep it like not forcing someone in a position they don't play as much as I could. Trying to keep it a little bit realistic, but in saying that, there was a few conveniences that I made on my team. A few exceptions.
Yourself, Georgie?
Look, I just kind of did my team honestly quite quickly, but not as in like a lack of effort. I just wanted to throw it out, kind of what I thought in my head. We watch so much football. We have an idea of who's playing well, who isn't, and who kind of fits. So I just did my team quite quickly, and my reference was kind of gut feel, a little bit Supercoach, because Supercoach I think is a good indicator of who's playing well, because it's like champion data based. So if you've got a player that's high meters gained, high contested possessions, high impact possessions, he scores a higher. If someone is kicking the ball out of the full, he's not scoring. So it is a good measure of of the impact on games.
So yeah, I'll just get because my thing was I took a bit of a different angle. I looked at last year's All Australian. I looked at some trends and I followed that. So I might not have the best performing players, but I've followed the best teams always get like 5 or 6. You know what I mean? So
True.
I've tried to make it more realistic. I kind of based the positions as well similar to the way
Did
they
you
do it.
guys use coaches' votes a lot? Because I value the coaches' votes a lot.
I didn't look at them at all.
Didn't
to be
look
honest
at
with
all.
you. For me, it was
So
just,
I've looked at the coaches'
Good.
votes.
Okay.
I was looking at the ladder a lot. I'm like, okay, this team is doing well. This team did well.
I hope we get some variance then, because
Yeah.
I was fearing that that'd all be pretty similar and it'd be pretty boring. So, who wants to kick us off? Maybe George, it was your idea.
Yeah.
Maybe you can go, mate.
Yeah, I'm happy to go first. So what I will say is I produced this on a Wednesday. This week came the All-Australian team from the AFL, and it's very similar to mine.
Oh,
So
okay, there we go.
they've copied me, basically. But it was interesting to kind of go through their AFL team that they produced, and I'm like, oh, it's pretty close. So I don't know if that validates my position or not, but whatever the case is. The other thing I like about the All-Australian is kind of the variance of how you go with position-wise. So I'm not a stickler for having the player play in the exact position that they are. That's just not the way it is. And looking at trends, that's not how the selectors
does it.
really does it. Like,
Yeah.
no one puts the wingmen on the wing that actually play a wing. It's unfair to someone like a Josh Dacos, who I don't have in the team, who has been great. Maybe you guys have him. But I'd rather have a superstar midfielder in that position. I just put the best players that I think in the team there. So
Okay.
I'll start with the back line. I've
Do you
gone.
wanna we'll go back like full back line, and then we'll go full midfield.
Yeah,
then
we'll
full forward
compare
line.
as we go.
Yeah,
I reckon.
cool. Yeah,
I'll compare as we go.
Yep, I reckon.
Yep.
I
Okay,
like
sure.
So you say you're 6.
All right. So Tom Stewart, full back is Darcy Moore, and then other back pocket we'll call it Charlie Ballard. So I've gone Charlie
Oh,
Ballard.
okay. Bit of a smoky.
Half back line, I've gone Nick Dacos. Centre half back Cal Wilkie, and other half back Jordan Dawson.
Okay.
All right, there we go. I've already got some differences here.
Yeah, me too.
So mine,
Not many actually, but yeah.
So I've gone Cal Wilkie as back pocket.
Mhm.
I've gone Steve May as full back.
Oh, okay.
I've gone Jacques Sinclair as the back pocket. I've gone Nick Dacos, Darcy Moore, centre half back, Jordan Dawson.
All right. So our differences is
I've got Sinclair and May.
okay
I think that's it.
versus Wilkie and Ballard.
Yeah, I've got Wilkie as well. But I've got him at
Different positions. Yeah.
yeah.
I can see what you mean by looking more towards the teams that have done well, which
Yeah.
is probably correct, how
Yeah.
they're going to do it.
And the thing is, I got to say, having watched May hold Charlie Kerner to a goal, I'm like, yeah, he's going in. So that genuinely, that directly impacted my decision.
Yeah.
Because I knew he was playing well, like, and he's doing it for parts of the season without Jake Lever as well. Like, he's holding it down without him. So I'm like, yeah, he's got to go in.
Fair enough, man. Well, mine's, again, one difference actually. So I've gone Wilkie in the back pocket, Darcy Moore fullback. And this is where I vary slightly. And again, not in a great team, but James Sicily is in there for me. Okay, now, the last few weeks have won me over. He's been, like, if he didn't have such amazing last 3 weeks, he's
Yeah.
definitely not making it.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff he's doing, I factor in as well that he's the captain. He's keeping Hawthorn competitive in parts of games. And he's just a great player. And then I've got Dacos, Nick, Stewart, and Dawson as my halfbacks.
Can I say something about my James Sicily snub? There was a reason behind it. And the reason was he didn't make it last year. I don't think he's necessarily playing better than he did last year. So how does he, in the position, the team's in the same position, he's doing the same stuff, why does he make it?
Well, that's the point
Do you
of
know what I
how
mean?
they select is heavily favouring players on good teams, which
Yeah.
is, fair enough.
But honestly, if I was to just do based on player, I'd pick him as well.
Yeah.
So,
Fair
good
enough,
pick.
man. Cool. All right, Georgie, what about your mids?
Do we want to do like the centre line and then the followers together?
Yeah. Yeah, that
I've
works.
got 6. That's how they pick it, isn't it?
Yeah. So
So you do your wings and your centre and then your followers.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. So
Well, sorry, the way I saw it, because I looked at the previous teams, they just had like 6, 6, 6.
Oh, okay. However, yeah, that's fine.
That's how I've just done it.
So you're gonna we'll do the entire midfield for 5 midfielders on the ruck. Yeah, let's do it.
okay. So I've got, and it's not really critical who I've got on the wings, but I've put Zach Butters and Caleb Sarong on the wings.
Yep.
Which the AFL did as well. And then in the centre, I've got Josh Dunkley. So I've put Dunks there. I've rewarded him over Neil. And then followers, I've got Tim English as the ruck. I think he's clearly the best ruck. Bont, Timmy Taranto, and Noah Anderson.
Is that? Have you got extras yet? How many midfielders have you got?
So I've got the send line and I've got the 3 followers plus the ruck.
It's 2 followers and a ruck.
Is it?
Yeah, you've gone an extra. Bro.
Again, I was confused on how to do it, but I just went.
It's meant to be ruck
6,
rover, ruck
12,
rover. Where no?
18,
Ruck,
19,
ruck
20,
rover and a rover. That's it. There's only 2 followers, man.
Not true.
So you got
Well, one's on the bench then.
Okay.
Miscounted.
Tim Taranto goes to the bench?
No, I'll put Anderson on the bench.
No,
So did you have no Petrarca, no Oliver? Maybe you've got Petrarca later.
No
Oliver.
I've got. I have Oliver on the bench as well.
Okay.
There you go. That's interesting. So I've gone. So these is the centers, or the center line. Dakes, Dunkley. So Josh Dakes. Going with Josh.
So just put the wingman on there.
I actually put a wingman in there.
Wow.
I think he deserves a spot. And also because Collingwood are top of the ladder, best team in the league. I'm favouring Collingwood in my All-Australian selections. Dunkley in the middle and Zach Butters on the wing. Then I've got Tim English, Ruck, Oliver and Bont as my followers. So,
Oliver.
Yeah.
Fair enough, man. Okay, so for me it was Butters on the wing as well with Sarong, and then I've gone Bont in the guts, and then English in the ruck. I think that's a fairly straightforward one, and I've gone Petrarca and Clary on ball.
That's fair enough.
Okay, so Dunkley is not being forgotten. Don't worry, but he's not not in my starting at the moment. Although you could have picked any one of those guys, I think, and you're not wrong. They've all been fantastic, to be fair.
There we go.
Cool. What about your forwards?
All right, so my half forward line, I've got Petrarca and Rosie, and then Jeremy Cameron, centre half forward.
That's the exact same as mine.
Yeah,
Petrarca, Rosie, Cameron. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, I think Rosie's been exceptional. I think half forward kind of makes sense for him as well, even though he's playing midfield. Petrarca, the All-Australian team kind of cheats and puts him there.
Yeah,
Bond's
but
been there
he
in the
does
past.
play. He does play in the forward line. He
I
gets
think-
maybe 20-30% game time. Not enough for Supercoach
No, it's not enough for 35%.
But he does play a bit of forward.
Yeah, so I think that's if that was your real half forward line. Mate,
Oh man,
mate.
you'd be laughing.
And then for full forward, I've got Charlie Curnow. And then my forward pockets, I've got Charlie Cameron and Toby Green.
Mine is the same, but instead of Toby Green, I looked at GWS's record. I'm like, no, I went with Joe Danaher.
Ooh,
Yeah, fair
He's
enough.
scoring a lot of goals, man, and that's that three-pronged attack of Jeremy Cameron, Curnow, and Danaher.
yeah,
you
fair
know.
enough, man.
Yeah.
All good. Mine is Charlie Cameron, Charlie Curnow, Rozzy. I've gone Toby, Jezza Cameron, and Rankin.
Oh, so you put Rankin there.
I've got Rankin in there.
Yeah,
you
he's
go.
been good.
That's fair enough. And he was one that I was thinking of, and then when I figured out how I wanted to do my team, he's like, no, you just can't fit.
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
For me, he's one of those ones where his impact on their wins, for me, values the choice.
Fair call.
But no, that was probably the funnest line, to be honest. The forward line, in my opinion. And what about, so we've gone bench. I've got 4 bench and then a sub if we're doing a sub. Up to you guys.
Yeah, I haven't added a sub, but I can just chuck one in.
All right. So, George, who have you got on your bench, man?
So we said Anderson. I've already mentioned he's on the bench.
He's moved to the bench. Yeah.
So 3 more. I've got DeGoey.
Okay.
I've got Clayton Oliver, who probably should be in the field, but he's just there anyway.
absolutely should be on the field, bro.
No, I give him a spell so he can come in and burst straight away. It's strategic.
fair enough.
And then I've actually got Danaher as well.
on the bench. There we go.
I think he's been great.
Yeah.
I didn't rate him much the first couple of rounds, but then after that he's just been amazing. So that's my team, yeah. And sub I've got Sicily.
Okay, wait. So how many? What was your bench? So DeGoey, Clayton,
Danaher
Noah,
and Noah.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Nice.
So
What about yourself, Matsa?
I want you to go because I might have a couple.
Okay.
I have a couple different ones.
All right. Well, I've
Actually, I
got...
have 3 different ones to Georgie, actually.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I've got Taranto, Dunkley. I've got Danaher on the bench as well.
So
There we go.
Same thing.
Mainly because I was thinking I did want to put a bench ruck as well. And I thought,
That's
know
why
what?
I've got him.
He's sort of my ruck forward, perfect on the bench. And then my bench defender, maybe a bit of a nuffy pick based on Supercoach, but Luke Ryan. He's leading the league in meters gained. So I think, you know what? If that's the kind of defender you like, progresses the ball. He's pretty important to what Freo does, albeit they haven't been amazing this year. But everyone sort of thought Hayden Young would be the guy this year, but it's still Luke Ryan. So
It's kind of become Young recently in the last few weeks, but they're sort of sharing the role.
they're sharing it a bit more, but which is interesting actually, given their form's turned up. So maybe it's a shit pick, but look, he's a solid player. I couldn't really think of any other defender I really vouched for, so I'm like, yeah, chuck him in.
Fair enough. So was it Danaher,
Taranto, Dunkley,
Yep.
and Ryan, and my sub. Actually, I was tossing up between Cozzy Pickett and Josh Dacos, but I'll go Josh Dacos.
Yes, no, you say Cozzy Pickett. He's been horrible the last month. He's form wise. Look, no.
I don't think so.
You take Cozzy Pickett in your team, but he's not in the Australian team.
No,
fair enough.
No.
Well, that's why I went Dacos.
Thank you for going Dacos in the end. So mine is the Goey, Tom Liberatore.
Yeah,
He's in a top
shout.
4 side, and he's been fantastic this year.
yeah. I thought about Libba.
And then Zach Merritt, right, who I was thinking of putting on my wing, but he's ended up being on the bench. And here's the controversial pick in my eyes: Scott Pendlebury.
I don't mind it.
I've added another Collingwood player. Leadership. He's a dude who's still he hasn't aged, man. He's still a gun. So I'll put him in as well. And that's where I've tried to. How many Collingwood players have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's usually what happens for the best team. They get about 5.
I like it.
Interesting. Was there any other Collingwood player you were thinking instead of him? Because they've got quite a few sort of like role players that aren't obvious.
Look, I was like last year. I had a look at last year. Maynard was in it last year, but has he been that good this year? I don't know. I haven't noticed. I don't pay that close attention to the.
He was
role
been
player.
better last year.
Yeah, I couldn't really think of anyone. Here's one. I was thinking Noble, but I think it's too much of a stretch.
I was
I
actually
think it's too much of a stretch.
I made
for
a
Noble.
joke pre-pod, but does a guy like Myercheck get some love at some point?
He's been great.
He's awesome. He's really
He's
good.
not going to get enough goals to get the All-Australian buzz, though.
But he's
or
up
is he
there.
getting enough goals?
He's got enough goals. Yeah.
Although maybe he does. Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's
Like
the
he's
one.
the most unsexy pick possible. But if you're gonna pick a couple extra Collingwood players due to form,
Yeah.
But
I don't
is
know.
he a better tall than Kerno? No. Is he a better tall than Cameron? No. There's maybe one other spot. We've got all three of us have Danaher in the team.
Yeah. I'm surprised that we all hate him. I thought that you guys might overlook him because
No,
of his mo or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't like his mo or his pick of music, but it's been good.
fair enough.
I made a little list of snubs, and I feel I can't believe I couldn't fit any of these guys in. But based on my criteria, Taranto, Laird, Sicily, Neil, and Sarong all got snubbed.
So I don't have Neil either. I think Sarong is a must. I think he's been exceptional.
I agree, but his team isn't. They weren't at this point.
That makes it even like he's been the only shining light in Freo in the first 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's that one was hard to. He was the one. It was between him and Merritt, and I ended up going with Merritt.
See, I said I looked at the coaches' votes, and I was actually surprised to see Merritt so high up in the coaches' votes because
there you go.
in my mind, I don't really feel like he's been that dominant this year. But I could be wrong.
I think
I don't have him there, but
they look for him. They look for him so much, and he impacts the way they move going forward. Yeah, I think that's what it is. But nah, Sarong hurt me to keep him out because you guys know I love me some Sarong.
yeah, I think he's a pretty special player.
Fair enough. I actually had Ballard as well as a potential option to throw in. You're probably looking at the same stats as me, which was like intercept marks, contested marks.
I just like the kid. AFL app had him as well, sent
Yes.
off back, I think.
Yeah.
So who did I didn't get Sinclair in. I think Sinclair's a great player, but I don't think he's been that impressive this year. He's had some big gains, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was just a good team. I just wanted to get that was the thing. Here's the one I was thinking of. Right, here was the controversial one. It was going to be instead of Sinclair, Dan Houston. I was going to go with.
He's been good, man.
He's the
very
third.
good.
He's been I think their third best player.
Doesn't get a lot of love again, but
He's been killing it for them this year.
yeah.
Like provides drive off half back, plays into the midfield, gets a couple clearances. It was hard to. It was just hard to put him in. I just didn't have the guts to do it. I was a coward.
No, you were pretty. I think you went out there the most. in terms of
Yeah.
a few smokies. But
I
good
kind
logic
of-
behind it.
Yeah, I kind of tried to make it in the spirit of the way the AFL does the All Australian team.
See,
So
I don't
yeah.
like the AFL, so I just went emotional, playing like fantasy sports, fantasy draft. Who's my favourites? And that's it.
I'm a sellout. I'm sorry.
I think I sold that as well, man, because my team's pretty similar to theirs. So I don't know.
Yeah, true.
Fair enough. Good fun. I guess we'll keep these lists and compare at the end of the year. See what we change. See what
Yeah,
the
see who
AFL
gets the
did.
most.
See who gets the most right.
It's good to see, it's good to see Zach Butters there. It's good to see Sarong there. My thing, starting to see a little bit of the changing of the guard.
Yeah.
I've got Anderson there. I think Anderson has been exceptional. I think you could put Rao there over the last couple of weeks as well. So it's good to see some new players come in.
Yeah, it's interesting. 'Cause I didn't think of Anderson to put him in, but then maybe that was just because
He got injured for a couple of weeks. If he didn't, I think he'd be in there. I think he's been exceptional.
Yeah,
So,
I think it was probably because I was focusing on the ladder so much. I'm like, I didn't even think
yeah.
to put Anderson, but yeah, no, it's a good shout.
Awesome, boys. Well, let's get into our weekly tips. So Thursday night, would you believe it? Carlton doesn't have the first game of the round.
Great.
Wow.
About time, mate. About time.
So George, you can actually enjoy most of your weekend this week. First game is a Thursday night. We're back to the Thursdays, which is fun. Sydney hosting the Saints at the SCG.
Sydney hosting the Saints.
Interesting game.
That is. Because Sydney, even though they've won the last 2 weeks, they've been against not great sides, as in our sides that we follow.
Correct.
So,
I feel personally targeted by Sydney.
yeah.
I don't know. They've hit this couch hard. They haven't been that good at the SCG this year. I don't know whether it's given them as much of an advantage as it has in the past. I still might go, fresh legs.
Fresh legs. Both of them are fresh legs.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Both of them had a bye.
You're right.
Nick Blakey galvanised after the 7-year deal. He got paid. I'm going to go with Sydney just for the lizard. Just because I like him and I'm considering him for my Supercoach team. But
I'm gonna go.
That's for the other
I'm gonna
pod.
go Saints because I really need Jack Steele to fire up.
fair enough.
You're leaving it to me, huh?
Yeah.
I am not that impressed by Sydney this year. I think, like you said, they've won twice in a row, but nothing too impressive.
They
in
got the
that.
Lizalfo spot.
The lives. Maybe only a red one, not a black one.
Fair enough.
Yet.
Ice one.
Well, let's go Saints. Okay, Friday night we have the Doggies hosting the Power at Marvel. They played a really good game in Adelaide in the wet with a sideways rain, as George says.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So no sideways rain at Marvel.
So if that's the case.
Then Dogs.
The Dogs.
I just really like Port at the moment. I just love Zach Butters, man. I talk about him all the time. It's my favorite player, Vutiro. I'm backing in Port.
It's for 10 wins in a row. I'm going to go the Dogs.
Let it happen, baby.
I'm going to go the Dogs just because 10 in a row is crazy.
I'm going to go Dogs as well because I agree. They've got to falter at some point. And if anyone's to do it, it's the big beastly midfield of the Dogs.
Yeah.
Bont and Libba, the all Australian
Butters
boys.
is gonna make them he's gonna melt them. Butters is gonna.
They're
melt
going to
them.
melt Butters, mate. I'm telling you.
No way.
We'll see.
Bond versus Butters, the two B superstars.
It'll be a good game, hopefully.
You know what? That's going to be another thing I'm going to look into. Which letter has the best players? B must be pretty close because Butters and Bont.
Look, if we're struggling for off-season content,
that is a stretch.
we'll come back to that.
That's like useless AFL stats.
Go through the alphabet.
Like Z is evil. They're struggling.
And Zerha.
And ooh, there we go. It's still pretty weak.
Who else is there?
Zerk Thatcher.
Zerk Thatcher. They actually have a few. There we go. Who's any Q's? Quainer. There's a Quainer. That was quick thinking, man. That was good.
Qs. Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I was thinking Quinton Narkle, mate.
Quinton Narkle. Nah. I guess you know what? Quinton is such a. Oh, even Narkle's a nice name, isn't it? Narkle Sparkle. You got to give him. It's got to be an N. So the cooler name gets.
Does he get a gig, Quinton Narkle?
Nah. He's at Port, but he's not going to play.
I thought he was quite a good player. I don't know why. I'd take him.
Yeah, Carlton would take a lot of players, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
yeah, no, I don't think he's going to play. Maybe I hope he does. He's
Apparently, he played well in the VFL or whatever their equivalent is. Sample.
Sample.
But yeah, we'll see how we go. Hopefully, the Doggies. I mean, I don't really care who wins, but 10 in a row is nuts. If Port gets that done, credit to him. Okay, so the Hawks are hosting the Lions at the G. I'm going to go Lions.
Yeah,
Lions.
Yeah.
Crows hosting the Eagles at Adelaide Oval. Crows.
Yeah.
And a couple more. So Frio's hosting Richmond at Optus Stadium.
Freo.
Freya?
You're making this easy for me, George. I just got to agree. I do agree.
Are you gonna agree to the next one?
Here we go. North hosting the Giants at Blundstone Arena.
Oh,
Let's go north, baby.
We're
Yes,
going north.
baby.
We're going north, baby. We're going north,
George,
baby.
is that your first North tip all year?
You know, it
I
reminds
think
me.
it
Of,
is.
it reminds me of like last week when like Paddy Dow goes in. Paddy well, Paddy well.
But you know what? Like, genuinely, we've been on a decent little run of promising form. We could have won the Sydney game, could have won the Bombers game. I think at Blundstone, we're going to do it, mate. Let's go.
I think it's going to be one of those really tight games.
It's a North game, mate.
That you guys have been part of, and that Giants have been part of. So
Yes.
we'll see what happens.
Great. What a unanimous North. I'm so excited for this.
I know, that
I'm so
felt
happy.
good. That felt really good.
What about Carlton hosting the Bombers?
Paddy well,
Paddy well.
Can I just
Yeah,
say it was funny watching that game. The only funny part about this game was when Paddy Dow came on as a sub. He got a cheer. He got a cheer.
He did.
He got a cheer like he was Chris Judd, man. And every time he touched the ball, it was like, yeah.
It was like
what
a sarcastic, like, yeah.
But what does that tell you about like the disconnect between the fans and the coaching? Like
Well, can you
the fans want him, and they wouldn't give it to. They had to sub him in.
Well, how does he not at least get some sort of a game here and there? Like North's, we're playing Tom Powell. He's not playing on ball every week like he probably should be, or eventually will be. But like Paddy Dow, he's got some talent.
Just give him a chance, man.
Play him in the forward line. You got no
know
forwards.
what Carlton fans don't want to. I'm speaking for Carlton fans. They don't want him to be like a Liam Stocker, where like Liam Stocker actually got games, but or Will Setterfield. We don't want him to play in the VFL the whole year and then just be sold off to another team. At least give him one more chance. He's played like 2 games under Voss. Voss just doesn't like him, obviously.
Voss, mate. Anyway, I think
He's on the chopping block, mate. I'm telling you. I was calling it early. on Vossi, mate.
I don't think he's gone. I think he's staying, man.
I still
He's on
think
the chop,
Ken
he's
Hinkley's
on
the first to go. Still,
Get out there.
that's the coldest.
That's dying on
Take
your sword, bro.
That honestly, like, we go back to, if we do bad takes from early in the
Just
season.
don't watch the first part of the year. It's nothing to see.
Yeah. Who did I say? I
Um,
think I said Stewie Jew.
Mate, we're both way off.
I said, yeah, I know. No, he's not losing his job.
Yeah, Dewey's
Who,
doing all right.
who did you pick?
Um,
Do you remember?
Damien Hardwick.
But anyway, back to the game. So Carlton hosting the Bombers.
I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. I tip Carlton every week. Like I convince myself.
I can't tip Carlton.
No, I
That's
can't
5
either.
losses in a row, though.
Essendon at least shows a bit of moxie moving forward.
A bit of
Like,
moxie, they
Little
do,
moxie.
man.
I'm going Bombers. Sorry, George.
Setterfield Cup, man.
Setterfield
Yeah,
Cup.
like, they've got moxie.
Andrew
man.
Phillips Cup.
Andrew Phillips Cup, yeah.
And wasn't it Peter Wright's going to be back? He's going to monster Wiedering. Sorry.
I'll tell you what, where you do have the
Is
advantage,
that
though,
it's at the G, yeah?
it's at the G. Where you do have the advantage, and obviously most weeks you do, but Mackay and Kerno v. Zerk, Thatcher, Ridley, Redmond, like you do have the height advantage. North somewhat exploited it with our forwards. So if you are to win, I think Kerno and Mackay need to actually get their act together and have a functioning forward line. Not that it's their fault in some aspects,
It's
but
not their fault.
well, Mackay, come on, man. A little bit his fault.
Look, he was better.
It was better.
They showed his mum. She was
yeah.
happy.
Yeah.
He was happy. That was a nice moment.
Wait, his mum gets a lot of screen time.
Does she?
Because she was sitting next to Paddy Cripps at the Brownlow. And whenever
Oh.
Cripps like, my family, my mum, it
And
just
Mackay's mum.
It kept going to Mackay's mum.
And it wasn't his mum.
No, they're not related. They're not related.
So we're going Bombers. What was your official tip, George?
Doesn't matter.
All right. Doesn't want to speak. Okay, man. Fair enough.
I'd
We'll
rather
assume.
not-
We'll assume.
I'd rather not speak.
Time will tell.
I have nothing to say.
Hey.
Okay, last game of the round, Monday. King's birthday. Are we calling it now?
I believe so, yeah.
Melbourne hosting the Pies at the G. This would be the statement win Melbourne needs. To be fair,
Probably not going to happen, I would say. But I agree. This would be huge for them on the big stage, on the first ever King's birthday. Or is it the first ever?
We forgot about the Queen pretty quickly, didn't we?
yeah,
Yeah,
moved on
pretty
pretty quick
much.
from that.
Yeah.
We just want our public holiday. We don't care.
Absolutely, man. I don't care if it's king, queen, prince, princess. You know,
That's it, man.
what's the little prince's name?
George?
Little Prince George or something. Yeah. It's freaking Prince George's birthday. Do another holiday for that. Why not?
Why not, man?
I'm sure he's a good kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
His uncle's a lizard, but he's all right.
Yeah. That's it.
Actually, Clary's back.
Is he back?
Yeah, they guaranteed it
What's
last
with
week.
these people come back from injuries? They expect to become...
These dudes, man, I reckon there's certain players that are just proper professionals. And Clary, apart from his appearance, he's a very, very professional boy.
I think Collingwood will win, but it should be a good game.
You know what? I've
Yeah.
given Melbourne a hard time lately. I'm going to say this is the statement win. Let's go, Melbourne.
All right, there you go.
Get it done. Impress me.
No.
This is the Brody Grundy Cup.
Yeah, true.
Yes.
is.
I like it.
Matsa, you're the deciding vote here.
I think I said Collingwood earlier.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah. I'm sticking by that.
Oh, I thought my pick was going to cause a bit of...
No.
No, okay, fair enough.
It's hard to go against the Pies, man. They just beat West Coast, man.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
West Coast, North, man, they're on a roll, man.
Yeah, huge.
Huge. All right. I think that's it for today, boys.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for watching. Actually, we should mention as well, George was going to be racing McCreary once we hit 100 subs, which we're getting closer. And apparently McCreary's gotten himself injured. So
I know, man.
some say he's ducking George. I don't know.
I agree, man. I agree. He pushed his knee or hamstring a bit too much, whatever.
Yeah,
For legal reasons, I can't comment.
Yeah, fair enough. Either way, look, you put some pressure on McCreary, hit the sub button. Thanks again for watching and listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you
Bye-bye.
guys.
Later.